Hello disc golf fans. From the Disc Golf Guy, this is the 2018 Delaware Disc Golf Challenge, and we're going to be calling the FPO feature card for the very first round of the tournament. I'm Elaine King here on behalf of the Disc Golf Guy. We're giving him a bit of a rest today, and my co-commentator is Sara Hokom.
Hi there, Elaine. Thanks for having me. Thank you to the Disc Golf Guy for putting us on this commentary. On this card, we have the current world champion, Paige Bjerkaas, Catrina Allen, Sara Lamberson, and myself.
Excellent. And as I recall, it was a pretty overcast day, the first day of the Delaware Disc Golf Challenge.
Absolutely. The weather was a little bit dicey with the hurricane coming in, and we actually got lucky with no rain, but a little bit of mud.
And here we can see hole one. And it's a good challenge to start because the hole one starts with the fairway straight and then it takes a very abrupt right turn. So as you can see, Sara, you had a good sidearm, but it just was a little bit long and hit some trees.
Yeah, the play is really straight here, as you mentioned, and then getting around the shot on the next, getting around the corner on the next shot. And it is tough to get it in the exact right spot. It's not a power drive. A lot of people are throwing a mid. We saw Cat flipping up for N4 there. The approach from the corner is going to be about 150 feet.
Yeah, Sara Lamberson is in great position there. Maybe a little bit too much anhyzer, and that falls a little bit short of the basket.
Paige throwing that blue putter again with a beautiful approach inside the circle. I'm a little blocked here. Showing a little bit of a turnover that, well, just doesn't turn over.
Yeah, the hole is deceptively difficult. If you land in the right place on your drive, it's actually a fairly straightforward 150 to 200 foot shot, as Cat shows right there. But if you're off the fairway, you're either dealing with those big trees that are deep or the rough that's short.
Pretty blocked there on that putt, but that'll be an easy tap in for par. This hole is definitely birdieable, but if you get off the fairway, it's pretty hard to get up and down for the birdie, but you can still save your par.
And I think that's a refrain we're going to hear throughout the whole round, isn't it? If your first shot hits the fairway, then things are pretty straightforward, but the fairways are quite tight on most of the course, in fact.
Saw Cat just tapping in her birdie on a beautifully played hole. Sara tapping in her par.
Okay, and that rounds out the card. So with hole one in the books, how are we looking?
Well, we've got a couple birdies. This one is birdieable by a lot of the field. It was one of the easier holes on the course.
Off to hole two. Now, Paige let go a little bit early. What you want to do is hyzer around that tree, or possibly even a bit of a wider hyzer around a wider tree. Now you can see there Cat hyzered in a big gap, but that does bring you inside the basket. You want to take a bit of a wider route.
About halfway up the fairway, you have some pretty tight gaps, about a 20-foot gap and a 12-foot gap, and both of them are difficult to hit. So the hyzer backhand definitely has the better chance of getting around the corner through those trees. This one's a tough one. You can easily birdie that with an early tree kick, or bogey that with an early tree kick, and then a tough approach. You'll see everybody's opting for the hyzer.
Mm-hmm. Even a sidearmer like yourself threw a hyzer.
Well, it turns out the miss on the hyzer is a little better than the sidearm miss.
Yeah, hole two really gives the sidearmers not a whole lot of options other than an enormous turnover. Aw, the Oakleys. And as you know, Eric, and now Tina Oakley were married just a week or so ago.
Yes, our newest disc golf couple, sealing the deal.
You can really see how much rain there's been on this course. It's just mud everywhere.
Cat threw a pretty good shot off the tee, but then she's blocked by all these little trees on the back left side, or the early left side of the green.
Paige almost had that. And no matter what you did today, you landed in mud. I know every time I picked up my disc, it was coated with mud, but fortunately there wasn't too much that was sloppy, so generally pretty good footing on the course. They did a really nice job of putting down gravel and putting down wood chips in places that were problematic.
Considering the amount of rainfall they've had, the course looks amazing. And this hole played pretty tough for the entire field today, with only one player getting the birdie, Miss Kona Star-Panis. And several birdies also. So yeah, this hole is a great score separator and an option for a right to left hole that's a par 3, which on this course we only see 4 par 3s on the entire course of this month, par 72. So Paige took one the first hole, and then gave one right back. Kat is looking at the lead by 1.
Okay, so finally we get a little bit of green space here out in the open. Hole 3 starts with just a keyhole that's actually pretty easy to hit, and then you need as much distance as possible because the basket is going to be up and right around a section of forest that you definitely do not want to be in.
Sara Lamberson hyzering out to the left, which is a considerable area rather than be pinched on the right because of that quick turn to the right after you get out of that keyhole.
Yeah, and as you'll see, the basket really snugs the tree line around the corner though, so being left gives you almost a straight shot at it. So Paige, as you can see, just a little bit too tight. We'll see if she has a putt at it.
Kat with a pretty dialed in sidearm, putting herself just outside the circle for her birdie. This is a slight downhill slope as well, so if you don't give it quite enough angle, it'll kind of hyzer out for you.
Yeah, and as you can see there, Sara had a nice look at it, and she did a nice gentle hyzer, but the slope sort of got her, and it just slithered down to outside the circle. Oh, that's what we need, a good sidearm approach.
Nice shot to the sidearm there, with the hillside as well, not only the right-hand turn. Paige with a nice little approach.
Kat just a little bit short. That's probably a bit more uphill than it looks on the video here. Great attempt by Sara, just falling a little bit short. So Sara, you're the only one left who has a chance at a 3 on this hole. Boom.
There's a little bit of headwind there too today. We had heavier winds than I expected, actually, in this wooded course.
Well, hole 3 and 4 are quite open, so that's where you can get a little bit of wind affecting the shots. But otherwise, the course is heavily wooded, and it's hard to even feel a wind. So at the end of 3 holes,
Kat and I tied for 1 under, and Paige and Sara at even. It's a very, very tight race, and this course will separate us, though, without a doubt.
So hole 4 definitely is another hole where length off the tee is necessary to get you a chance at getting a 3. However, it is a par 4 hole, and as you can see there, Kat skipped through the tree nicely, and she's in a beautiful position. She'll be able to line herself up more or less at the tunnel to the basket. But there is a low-hanging tree that you need to do a little bit of a right turn around. Sara's shot is, see, just clip that tree. It's a tough choice whether you go around it to the left or whether you go under it.
Basically, you want to do what Paige just did right there. So the slight turnover that gets under that branch that everybody seems to keep hitting. It's nice to be a little bit right off the tee, but it's hard. You have to be far enough and then right, or it's better just to be left to give yourself the largest chance to hit the opening.
Okay, and your second shot slithered right deep into the trees, and you've got a long look at a putt. So Kat's, at that point, there are 2 gaps that she could have gone for. They're both extremely tight, and unfortunately she missed. Paige is got the big gap, so she's just outside the circle, it looks like.
Sara also going for that gap, comes up just a little short. She'll be at the opening though, which is a very relatively open look to the pin.
Yeah, it's really, really hard to get that second shot in the gap. It's quite tight. There's a lot of trees also that block a lot of shots that have successfully got through the first line of trees.
A beautiful shot by Kat. You can see the sidearm is really coming into play here. This is a slight Anheuser putt that sneaks in. I was pretty happy with that.
Yeah, were you outside the circle there?
I was. And Anheuser putts are definitely outside my normal realm of comfort. And here Paige for her birdie.
Wonderful, 2 birdies on this hole.
This one was one of the more difficult holes that we also played the same tee as the men, the ultimate long gold layout. Sara kind of continuing the struggles on this one. This hole can really bite you. Not only with the distance off the tee, but then the gap shot once you're 3/4 of the way up through the fairway.
Yeah, putting a little bit of a problem here. It's a slightly intimidating when you're putting towards the road because it's a little bit downhill, and there's always that thought in the back of your mind, if you get a bad roll, it could actually get you quite a bit farther down the hill than you want.
Yeah, this hole played relatively difficult for the field, 8th difficulty, with Paige and I really the only 2 birdies, with a lot of the field bogeying 5, 6, 7.
And a 3 on this hole, that's a solid score for any player.
Absolutely.
No
And
problem.
you get a good look at the gallery following around the lead
We
card.
had a great gallery. So here we have a couple birdies, and then it was kind of a separator here. So I'll have the tee on the next hole.
Now, hole 5, the camera certainly doesn't show the uphill grade of this hole. It's just a gentle uphill the whole way. And Paige is throwing her putter again, isn't she?
She's really good at throwing that thing straight.
How far do you think she gets? 250?
250 at least, maybe 280. This is a slightly uphill hole, but it's so difficult to just get it to land in the center because you're throwing this tight gap. It's really tempting to try to throw a driver, but a lot of times I think the middle is getting the job done.
And a great shot from Sara there. Yeah, you really want to just aim for the short tee.
Throwing the same putter, slight turnover, again in the middle. This is how you play the hole.
Yeah, it's absolutely ruthless if you're not on that middle fairway. There are kind of a random assortment of trees, and if you get behind any of them, you may or may not have a shot out. Sara just tailed off to the left there, and it's probably going to be a bit difficult for her to get out.
Really, anytime you're off the fairway on this hole, you have to pitch out almost every time. We just saw Kat pitch out. But you can still get up and down for the par with a pitch out. So it's probably the smarter play most of the time. Kat with her 3rd shot now. Big boom.
Around those trees.
Kind of a nasty little roll there. But she's open to the pin. She'll still be able to get her par, heading a good upshot. Paige now with her 3rd shot. Getting it all the way up there.
Oh.
Wow.
A robin.
Made it. Sara having to pitch out, as is characteristic of this hole.
And this is a really beautiful setting for the pin. You can see a couple of huge rocks around the basket, 3 guardian trees to your right and the one to the left. So what you want to do if you're a backhand thrower is to throw it over that big rock, which doesn't look like it, but that rock is right at the edge of the circle. So you need to get it up and over, just like that approach shot there.
And while the green is more open on the right side, you can still throw through the left side. There's a relatively fair gap to throw the lefty shot or the sidearm.
Yeah, this is definitely a hole that whether you throw a backhand or a sidearm, there's a equal opportunity to get at it with your preferred shot. And as the pros clean up, we'll see how we all did on this hole. So it looks like Paige with the drop-in 4.
The birdie, yeah. Only three of the field got a birdie today, and we got to watch Paige throw it perfectly. That'll give her a stroke back, and now we are tied at -2. Cat's at even, and Sarah's at +4.
So that's funny. The sweeping is something that happened a lot because, as I said, the course was very muddy. It stuck to the players' shoes, and the tee pads all had those brooms available to sweep off the collecting mud so we could get a good grip.
So we just saw Paige throwing a really nice hyzer. As we know, this hole, we're looking to stay kind of up on the right-hand side to have the best access to the keyhole that guards the green. However, if you are left, you can still find the line. I think it's just a little bit dicier from the left side.
It is. From the left side, like where Kat landed there, you need to throw quite a distinct hyzer, whereas if you're up on the right, then it's a straight shot. And given that that second shot is probably going to be about 300 feet, you'd rather be throwing a straight shot. Okay, so Sarah's going to try and hit that gap, which she does nicely.
A little bit to the right, but
Yep.
she'll have a relatively easy up and down.
Oh, there, beautiful.
And turn over the Patriot there. Paige opting for the hyzer, gets a little lucky to the skinny trees, but she'll be inside the circle or just outside the circle for a putt.
Yeah, you definitely want lady luck on your side when you're playing this course, and unfortunately, the luck was not with Kat on that throw.
Those small trees are really tough to get through.
Yeah, I think that what makes this hole a great golf hole is that the first drive is not your farthest throw, but you have to place it up there, and it's probably a 280-foot shot to get to that nice place up on the right where you can have just a straight shot down quite a narrow pike of trees. And I think all the ladies are putting from outside the circle here.
2 chain outs. It must be contagious. Kat is just not feeling her stroke right now. So hopefully she can find her rhythm.
And you definitely want your putting game to be on because it's very hard to be able to put the disc under the basket on an approach shot because you're inevitably in an awkward stance from your approach shot.
Pars and a bogey here on our card. Kona Panis was the only one to get this one today. On to hole 7. This is a nice gap shot for a sidearm down a hill to the right.
Oh, it sure is. It's got a nice straight line, and then it turns to the right, and it doesn't look like it on the video, but it's distinctly downhill. And so if you get a mid-range or maybe a fairway drive or just on a nice smooth line, it will just carry down to the hole. Looks like Sarah has done exactly that.
Just a little inside. That gap is so tough to hit that straight with that slight elevation. So we've all got quite a bit of work to do here.
Okay, well done. So tell me about that disc. What's that logo?
That is a logo done by Mr. Michael Ramanauskas and dyed by Adam Knight, some buddies from Vancouver, British Columbia. Yeah, it's a clutch. Flies great. I use it for as many approaches as I can.
Throwing a Canadian disc.
Oh, yes. Right.
I approve.
Yeah. Paige here for her birdie.
Ooh.
Boom.
That looks like about a 40-footer.
Yeah. She's just dialed in.
And really, that's the best play on the hole, is just to throw a straight shot down the left side and try and make your putt. Because as we've seen, if you try and turn it over to the right, you cannot go in early because there's just too many trees and bushes.
Yeah, that line is so straight. It's almost like you don't even want to try to turn it. And
Almost.
right side, not the first time this round. But Paige, as we saw, got her amazing birdie, and it was the only one in the whole field today. For one of the par threes that seems very gettable, there were a lot of bogeys on this hole.
Well, it's about not being too greedy, because you want to try and turn it to the right, but you have to have a very late turn. So for backhanders, it's quite difficult to do. We're now on the iconic hole 8, which is very uphill and very rocky to begin with. And what you want to do is just have a nice straight shot, perhaps even a little bit to the left, to set yourself up for the second shot. But distance up the hill is key.
Went a little far left, so I'll have to pitch out from there. Sara Lamberson lets one rip a little bit. It's a nice kick though.
Oh, excellent.
Back to the middle. You can only hope for tree kicks like that out here. And she's stuck kind of throwing a standstill because it's slightly uphill and there's just rocks everywhere, all over. You can see Paige's footing is also similarly blocked.
And that's more of an uphill than it looks like. So that was a big shot from Paige to get up and over the hill. Looks like you did a pretty good job of getting around the tree.
Well, yeah, a little bit. It's weird footing. I fell over after I threw that. Lamberson making headway, but there's a lot of trees, and that gap is really tight. It's maybe 15 feet wide on the right side, and then maybe an equally 15 feet wide on the left side.
It's hard getting comfortable on this hole because, you want to have a little bit of a run-up like Paige did there, but the rocks are so slippery and uneven in places that sometimes you just can't for safety, and you're forced to have a standstill, and it might not even be a standstill that you're comfortable with because the rocks, again, are jagged and uneven.
Lambo and I were in the exact same spot there. She took the inside sidearm route and hit maybe third tree, and I opted for the layup around the outside. That line she took was gnarly. I couldn't even try to attempt it.
Okay, it sneaks hers into the circle. Well, it's kind of a mystery what happened there.
Yeah,
the tree was in the way.
It looked good coming out, but she ended up hitting a tree, and
Get in.
she'll have another approach shot.
It's a little deceiving, the camera angle. Landed a bit short. And of course, this hole has changed from past years. They've cleared out a lot of the small trees and shrubbery, and they've moved the basket back. And the men, as we may see during the putting, have a basket that's even farther back to make it a true par 5 for the men.
Another right side miss for me, air ball this time. Whoops. Kat and I have contagious putting problems.
And there you can see the alternate pin on a little bit of an elevation back there that the men play to. It's just, maybe 80 feet past the women's basket.
This played as the second most difficult hole with 0 birdies and a high percentage of the field, 60% of the field bogey that. So yeah, that was one of the harder holes, and it showed. We were starting to separate ourselves a little bit more here, with Paige taking a couple stroke lead.
Squeaky, squeaky.
Now, as we get to hole 9, as you can see, there is a keyhole there. What you want to do is get your disc through that gap but not too much farther. It's best to throw a mid-range or maybe a fairway driver. If you throw too far, especially if it goes to the left, you'll find yourself snookered and not able to make the corner, as there is about a 45-degree angle over the fairway to get to the basket.
Definitely better to be shorter and in the middle than longer and in the rough, as we see on a lot of these holes.
So I think apart from Paige, the rest of the field had tough
Early
time
trees.
making the gap.
Again, just kind of chundering my way up the fairway, but I'm in the middle, so I'm happy about that. Sarah now in her third throw. Trying to turn that corner, but again, there's a lot of trees. She needed to turn a little bit quicker there.
Yeah, on this course, you're constantly judging how far away is the bend. And you need to be able to judge it well and to be able to get your disc to do that turn, and you cannot get too greedy. And as we can see, Paige, I think, is throwing that same blue putter again.
She hit a relatively early tree there, so she's back in the rough.
And finally, you get a shot to have its full flight.
Yeah, right. I mean, I got 2 tree kicks that landed me in the middle, so I'm happy about that. It could have gone easily the other direction, requiring 2 pitch outs. Lambo getting herself up there for a long putt. And Paige now pitching out of the woods. No, she's not. She's going to throw it. See, that's a little gap she took. But she's, she's pinned high on the left side. Yeah. Cat with a beautiful approach. She played this hole really good. Even though she was off the left side, she was able to get a hyzer around for an easy approach shot.
And there you can see a good example of the mulch that's been put around that basket to compensate for all the rain that they've had, and the course maintenance and care that was taken to make this course ready for the national tour was really awesome. There's a lot of people putting a lot of hard work in.
Conquered!
This played as one of the more difficult holes, with over half the field bogeying, and Miss Becky Sondheim, the local, getting the only birdie.
Well done, Becky. She's a lefty.
Oh, maybe it's a lefty hole.
Mm-hmm. So that's the front 9. And how do we stack up after the first 9 holes?
Well, we've got Paige with the lead, a couple strokes. I'm on her heels, Kat's on my heels, and we'll see if Sara Lamberson can find her stroke on the back.